I dreamed this Dragon Ball fan art I'm drawing. The main thing I remember from my dream is the background, actually. A green, grassy field, a purple, blue, pink sky with big, fluffy pink clouds and like this light purple moon or sun shining in the background. In my dream, it was all very Dragon Ball styled, everything was, but I decided to just take inspiration from that and draw it in my own style. I didn't think I'd be able to recreate the dream image exactly, and I knew that would frustrate me a bit trying to. So I thought it was better to just draw it the way I wanted, but keep the overall colors and composition of everything the way that I dreamed it. The dream also had a very strong backlighting on the character, and I wanted to keep that as well. The pose was just a simple Slav squat, deep squat. In my dream, Krillin was there too, but what confused me is that this was adult Krillin. So I first thought that this Goku character I was seeing was actually like Gotenks or something, but I'm not really sure. The getup was completely Kid Goku with the orange gi and everything, so I don't know the logistics of how it would be adult Krillin if it was Kid Goku. The picture in the dream gave me very isekai vibes. I think that's how you pronounce it. Isekai, however you pronounce it. Transported into another world feeling. I think Dragon Ball in general lends itself to that kind of fandom very well, and I am a huge fan of that. I think that's why I spend more time with the Dragon Ball stuff the fandom creates rather than official Dragon Ball things. I liked all the movies I saw, Battle of the Gods and the Broly movie. I liked some of the games too. Dragon Ball Fusions on the 3DS I thought was really fun. I love that game. I definitely recommend you play it if you haven't. But I generally spend more time with like the fan fiction people write, reader inserts, listening to the Dragon Ball what ifs. I really love those. I spend more time in that kind of thing than actually just watching Dragon Ball itself. And I personally think that is a large reason for that isekai feeling you get from Dragon Ball universe. It's just perfect for it. And based on the video games I've played, it seems that Dragon Ball knows it is too. The games usually allow for like character creation and interacting with your favorite characters, and I know Fusion does this for the 3DS. I think I've played some of the Xenoverse games. I think they do that too. I haven't played Fighter Z, but I think it's like that. Also, I think I played something called Jump Force, and it wasn't exclusively Dragon Ball. There was like One Piece and other animes in that too. But I think the idea is still kind of the same. I don't think Jump Force was a very good game though. I don't think people really liked that game, and I understand. I don't remember it being that great of a game. I think that was the game that had that really jank in-boss scene where you just like cheese the ending. It's been so long since I played, I don't really remember correctly, but I played it on like Xbox Game Pass back when they would sell Game Pass for like $1 for a month, so I wasn't very harsh on the game, even with all of its flaws. For the character creation and interactions with the characters, I enjoyed the game enough. I am a sucker for that kind of thing, character creations, all that stuff. To me, that's kind of the point of most fiction in general, is imagining myself there or my character within the story. And Dragon Ball just lends itself to that perfectly. I would say One Piece too, but most of the animes and books and movies I find myself enjoying too. I've been rambling about this for a while. Maybe I should say something about the actual drawing. Something I'm always trying to be very aware of when I'm shading is to not blend too much. It does depend a lot on style, if you prefer a very soft shaded style or a cel shaded style. But for me, I like to keep some edges very harsh and then lightly blend out other edges So you get a mix of the cell shaded and the soft shaded. I'm using multiply layers to shade a lot of this. If your character has a lot of little pieces on them or a pattern on their shirt or something like that, just using a multiply layer for the whole thing really makes coloring a lot easier. So you're not having to go in and change every single little color to fit every little bit on the clothing. You can also alpha lock the multiply layer and airbrush in some additional colors like I did. I airbrushed some green onto the shadows of his pants, giving a slight feel of a bounce light. So like the light's hitting the grass and then bouncing into his orange gi. So getting a little bit of that green color inside the shadows. Here I'm applying some of the after effects, I would call, or additional lighting coming from the environment. Just a multiply layer with a color similar to the background, and then just erasing in some extra lighting where I want the lighting to come from. I personally think this is a really quick, easier way to put in more dynamic shadows. And I find it a lot easier to do this step now, after all the other coloring is done, rather than trying to focus on the environmental shadows and just the shadows you would get from the clothing. So I'm applying more after effects to the character, a multiply layer for the shadows, erasing those shadows in, and then using shine layers or any other layer effects to add to that dynamic shadows and that additional lighting. The background is quite cartoonish. I knew there was going to be a lot of blurring out at the end, so not putting too much detail in the background. It is a fairly simple background, just the grassy field, the mountains in the back, and then big, fluffy, pink clouds. Clouds are very fun to draw. I kept these very cartoonish, just laying down that bright pink as a base, going in with a multiplier layer on top, painting in quite round shapes to make the clouds look a little fluffy, blurring out only some of the edges. And then I locked the multiply layer and airbrushed in additional colors to make the shadows look a little more colorful, and then added a shine layer on top, almost as an outline around the clouds, to make the clouds look very shiny and bright. The mountains are again quite simple. Big blocks of that dark blue and triangle shapes. A little bit of color on the top to kind of represent, like, I was thinking snowy mountain caps. And then taking a screen layer and putting them at the base of the mountains. This is kind of a cheats atmospheric conditions if that makes sense. You often get a light blue glow on objects that are very far away. So applying that fog at the base can add a little more depth to the image and makes the mountains look a little further away. I wasn't sure about the grass. I liked it being completely straight. It did look very cartoonish. I know you often want to avoid completely straight lines, especially in landscape art. But for this very cartoonish picture, I really liked it being completely straight, so I just blurred it out a little bit but kept it straight. Going back to all those After Effects and just tweaking the colors and things like that, I can then start on an overpaint layer on top of absolutely everything and add in little details here and there as I see fit. There are just some details that I find much easier to add on top of the image after everything is completed, rather than trying to get those details in the liner or in the base coloring. I wasn't sure about the eyes. I was thinking about doing some eye white shines, but considering he was in shadow, I decided to keep them quite dark without putting any eye whites in there. The overpaint layer can be quite subtle, but I do think it makes a very big difference. Focusing on the parts that seem quite messy and fixing them up just a little bit, and stray hair strands, is the main thing for this overpaint layer. And it is quite subtle, but I do think it makes a very big difference. I think it makes the overall image look a lot cleaner than it was without it. Something about this image looks very cartoonish to me. I'm not 100% sure why. But I really like the background. I think the background looked very good. Opening up Fire Alpaca, I am doing some additional last minute effects. So using the unsharp mask filter on the image to tighten it up, and then blurring out some of the image. So I kept the face and the upper body in focus and then blurred out everything else to add a little more depth and to bring the face in focus a little more. Another effect I like to do is to just copy the whole image, paste it, blur it. You can change the hue and saturation, and then just play around with the filters. Soft light, hard light, screen, overlay, and messing around with the opacity can give everything a nice little glow. I also thought it would be nice to add some leaves or, some kind of leaves or something flowing in the air. Made it look a little more complicated, a little more dynamic. Just putting in blobs of dark green color, blurring them out either with Gaussian blur or motion blur, playing around with the opacity a bit. I changed the leaves layer to shine because I think it gave it a really cool effect. This very glowy look to the overall image is very cartoonish, which is what I was going for. So here is the finished drawing of Goku. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.